Hi, everybody. I'm Donna Frasca, psychic medium for angelhug234.com. Today, I want to talk about a very interesting experience that I've had for the past 2 weeks. And it's basically talking about what happens to the soul when somebody dies. All right. Let's see. How can I say this? On March 7th, I woke up really early in the morning. I usually wake up early in the morning, but this was super early. And I usually wake up between 5, 6 o'clock, somewhere around there. So I wake up and just felt happy and comfortable and content, knowing anxiety to get up and hurry up and do my stuff. And then all of a sudden I felt, I have 4 cats, so it would not be unusual for a cat to be sleeping next to me. I was facing to my left and, on my side. So one of my cats, he's a big cat, so he's long. And apparently he was laying up against my back. So I felt the pressure of this cat from the back of my neck to my tailbone. So as I was slowly waking up and I felt, this pressure up against my back, I'm like, it was like a little, it was a sense that I had that something was unique. So I'm like, ooh, and it struck a memory, of my cat laying up against my back, of when I was a little girl living at home and my dad would go away on business trips and I would sneak in bed with my mom and would say, okay, she goes, okay, Donna, we're going to sleep back to back now. So she'd turn one way, I'd turn the other, and our backs would be up against each other and we'd fall asleep. It was just very comforting. And that's what it felt like when my cat was up against my back. I'm like, I said, this is so sweet. It reminds me of when my mom and I used to do back to back. So that made me smile. Then, a second or two later, I heard a song in my mind, You Are My Sunshine. And that was one of my mom's songs that she sung all the time. And I'm like, that's weird. I happen to be thinking about my mom. And then I hear this song in my head, also a song that she liked. And so then I was like, wow, this is a really strong connection with my mom. So I just lied in bed for a few minutes, just soaking up that feeling, because she lives a few states away from me. So I don't talk to her every day. I don't see her every day. So while I had this little connection on whatever level, it was a memory. I'm like, it's so sweet. I'm just going to, enjoy this as I slowly wake up and start my day. A few minutes go by. And the phone rings. I'm like, wow, this is a really early phone call. It had to be 5:30 in the morning. And it was my dad. And he informed me that my mom had passed away. And I was like, I knew my mom was sick and I knew her days were numbered. And I was like, wow, I finished up the phone call and I hung up. And I said, wow, that's really spooky, because I was just feeling this really strong connection with my mom. And apparently she had just passed. Okay, so the day goes on. And the next day, March 8th arrives, and just going about my business and watching TV. And on the TV screen, there was some kind of banner or commercial or sign or something that said, blah, 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 Riviera, blah, 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 blah. And the Riviera, seemed really big. It stood out on the TV screen for me. And I was like, oh, wow, that's really weird, because Riviera was the street that my mom lived on. It was also the name of her condo a few years back that she loved. It was called the Riviera condos. It was her absolute favorite place to live. So I was like, whoa, that's really bizarre, that connection, a street and a place where my mom, lived, and, both times. So that was noted. So again, the day goes on and I have music playing, and the song Maggie, I think was by Rod Stewart, right? Maggie comes on, and I'm like, and again, I stopped what I was doing. And I'm like, Maggie? And I go, well, wait a minute, another hit, another sign from the other side. Maggie was the name of my mom's favorite dog. It was a German Shepherd. She had many dogs, but Maggie was her absolute favorite. Another sign from my mom. So, I mean, these signs continued. I'm pretty sure there's more. I just can't remember. I should have. Oh no, there's one. There's another one. I think the next day, day 3, I was looking in my closet for something to wear, and I looked deep in my closet, and I pulled out a shirt, and I look at her. It's like, wow, I haven't worn a shirt in, I don't know, 2 years. So I put it on, and then I realized, let me just show you something real quick, that the last time I wore that shirt, it was black with white polka dots, was when I was with my mom 2 years ago. I have not worn that shirt since I saw my mom 2 years ago. I mean, I saw my mom since then, but I haven't worn that shirt that happens to be on my phone. Another strange coincidence. Let's see what else. All right, so this morning, again, this is a little over 2 weeks after she passed. This morning, again, just waking up out of bed, and usually before I get out of bed, I get my phone, I look at the news, email, social media, blah, 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 blah. And I usually go to Pinterest because I like the graphics that they have. It makes me happy. Good way to start the day. Then I see that I have a new follower, so I want to see who this person was. So I click on the new follower, and it was a female. She had no picture, which is highly unusual for Pinterest. Everybody puts a picture and all their pins and whatnot on their boards. There was just one person, no picture on her banner. She had, and in her, if you're familiar with Pinterest, you have these little boards and you can pin pictures on the boards. And it was just pictures of a tree, the same tree over and over and over and over again. I'm like, oh, that's really weird. And she had only 10 followers. Very, very, very odd for somebody who's on the Pinterest platform. So then I'm thinking about this, and I'm like, wow. I said, 10 followers, 10, if you take off the 0, it singles down to the number 1, which is the I am presence. I am is probably the 2 most powerful words ever. I am. The presence, the God presence, just an amazing presence. That's all I can say. I am. So I'm like, wow, number 1, interesting. And the trees that she posted on her Pinterest boards, trees represent grounding in the home and, foundation. So I was like, this is really bizarre. And the name of this person on Pinterest is Sylvia, who happens to be my mom's name. All right, so this is how I start my day today, with that little tidbit. And then my dad is now living with me. He's 94, God bless him. And so now I'm chatting with my dad, and I told him about, the thing on Pinterest. And I told him about another thing that I experienced, which was bizarre. The past few months, several months, at least a year, I've been seeing the same patterns in numbers. Like many people see 222, 444, whatever. But my pattern is 101, 202, 303, like 11, 11. They're like mirror numbers, or whatever's on this side is on this side. And for the life of me, I could not figure it out. I'm not into numerology. I don't know. So I'm like, what does this mean? Is this mirror work that I need to do? I'm like, okay, I'll do my mirror work. But down in my solar plexus, I'm like, no, this does not feel right. It is not mirror work. So I said, I'm just gonna let it go, because eventually the information will come to me. So I told my dad about my Pinterest spooky thing and the thing about the numbers and whatnot. And my dad says, he goes, you just know these things about people who have died. And he goes, I knew when I called you on March 7th that you already knew that your mom passed. I go, I did, because I felt her presence so strong moments before you called. And he called me around 5:30. And, and then, like I said, I told my dad about these numbers, 101, 202, 303, 404. So my dad tells me this morning that my mom passed at 5:05. I almost, I don't know. I was like, how is this happening? This is so bizarre with these numbers. What does it mean? All these connections. So I'm sitting there and thinking this morning. I'm like, okay, the reason that I'm seeing these numbers, it's not mirror work. It's the fact that I can connect with the people who have passed. I'm a medium. And if the universe could come down and slap me in the face any harder than it's already been doing, I'd be shot all the way across, to the other side of the world. Clearly, this is my path that I'm meant to do, is mediumship, to connect with the people who have died, who have passed, who are trying to get messages across. Now, here's another interesting thing, is that since she passed a little over 2 weeks away, I feel her stronger than ever, and I'm like, I feel like I should be more upset, but of course I'm upset, don't get me wrong. But I'm like, why do I not feel devastated? This is very weird. Because she's here. She is here so strongly. She's given me these messages every day in so many ways. It's getting to the point I go from room to room. I'm like, hi, Mom. I know you're here. I could feel you. So I can feel her more so now that she's passed than when she was alive. And I'm telling you guys, it's a bizarre feeling. Now, going back to the numbers, the mirror numbers that I'm seeing, which are not mirror numbers. I know that as of today. It's that I could see between realms. And I was told this from my higher self, my guide, spirit, whoever, that you will be able to see between realms. Clearly, there's so many more experiences that validate this factoid, but clearly, in between realms, in between life and death, it is so clear to me. I could feel it. I can see the signs. It's wild. It's just wild. So again, these numbers are what is here in the physical world right now. I can see and sense in the other world, as if, for example, if I'm holding up, let me just get my book. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Here's my book that I wrote, From Color to the Cosmos Inside the Mind of the Medium. I'm going to hold it up. And I think right now what you're seeing is, I believe it's backwards, right? This is how I live my life, where I look at something and I see it forward, but my spiritual life is seeing the reflection of my physical life here from that realm. Does that make sense? I finally figured out what my number sequences mean, and it resonates like nobody's business. It's just amazing. What I see here, and what I can also see from the spirit world looking back here. And that is flipping awesome. By the way, this book is available on Amazon, or also in the shop on my website, angelhub234.com, if you want it signed. So anyway, guys, I wanted to tell you that because that's pretty darn amazing. To answer your questions, what happens when somebody dies? What happens? Their physical body dies, but where does their soul go? Okay. Now, I do not, as a medium, as a person, blah, 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 I do not believe anything until I experience it myself. You could tell me that, 1 + 1 is 2. And I'm like, okay, fine. But until I know that 1 + 1 is 2, that doesn't exist. You can tell me that, the root chakra is red, but unless I see it for myself, I don't believe it. You could tell me that, ghosts exist, or, lucid dreaming and this and that and the other thing. And I'm like, and I will listen, fine, dandy. But until I experience every single thing, there is to experience. I don't believe it. Otherwise, for me, it's just hearsay. So all the experiences that I talk about on YouTube or in my social media is from things that I've experienced. I will listen to it all. And when I have that experience that I can validate, and then I go back and say, this person said the same thing, that person said something similar, then I can put my 1 + 1 = 2 together. So anyway, to answer the question of what happens to the soul when the body dies, and I know, you've probably done some reading about this where, the soul goes up, to the heavens and to the white light and blah, 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 blah. That's all fine and dandy. But before it does that, when a person immediately passes, their soul goes out to their loved ones. Like my mom visited me minutes, if not seconds after she died. They do that solidly for the first week. Where they go and visit. If there's a funeral, they're at their funeral and they visit all the family members, and they give each family member, friend, a little, like a sign. Like I've gotten so many, but I happen to be a medium, very sensitive. So I pick up on all these signs. So I know that's a hit, that's a hit, that's a validation, that's a validation. But the regular Joe who's not awakened or is just insensitive, who sees all these signs, just says, okay, that person's dead, I'll never see them again. And, boohoo, boohoo, they cry and they go on with life. And that's sad. That's really, really sad. I am grateful for my gifts. As I doubt them sometimes, we all do. But I now know that this is the journey that I am meant to have. And just good. I don't want to say I'm good at it because that's ego. It's just who I am. It's just who I am. Just like, my hair is cut like this, just like I have this color shirt on and whatnot. I can see and sense the spirit realm naturally. It's just who I am. Yeah. I was going to say, que sera, sera, which I never say, but that's another thing that my mom always says. See you go. She just validated this whole video. You guys saw it here live. That was awesome. Que sera, sera. I never, ever, ever say that, but my mom does. Thanks, Mom. I love it. Okay, on that note, I'm going to have to end this video because how can you top that? You can't. Guys, see you later.